Welcome to Reapit's Apps in the Spotlight podcast.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Reapit Apps in the Spotlight podcast, an opportunity to learn more about the new apps and integrations that are launched into the Reapit AppMarket. In each podcast, we hear from a different partner who will give us a quick introduction to their PropTech service, outline the main features of their product, and explain the key benefits for Reapit customers. In this podcast, we're focusing on Homeppl, and I have with me their CEO, Alex Siedes. So welcome, Alex.
Thanks very much, Andy. Great to be here.
Fantastic. Thank you. So let's dive in. Perhaps you could just begin by telling us a bit about the history of the business and maybe your own background as well.
Yeah, great, cool. Let me tie this all together. So I admit I'm Israeli. And so like all other Israelis, I also had to serve in the army. And like any other Israeli who end up creating a tech company, and there are lots of us, I also served in the intelligence forces. But I did something a bit different. I did counterintelligence. So I was trained to analyze people's profiles and personality, and then determine whether they can be exposed to classified information, and if so, to what extent. So I did that for about 3 years as a commander as well, and working in intelligence sparked off my interest in global affairs. So I decided to move to the UK to study PPE. I didn't get an offer from Oxford, which I still regret until this very much day, but I got to the second best, which was Warwick. And like any other PPE student, I became socially active. I created an NGO when I was 22, which was quite successful. And that really paved my way to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, where I acted as a diplomatic representative for the State of Israel at a UN organization called UNESCO, based in Paris. Did that for a couple of years. And then realized that if I want to be a good policymaker one day, I need to study a bit more. So I moved back to the UK to do my master's at the LSE. And then I decided to solve the pain that I had personally experienced every single time I was relocating and moving from one market to another. And the pain that I had was that I was time and again financially discriminated against when I was trying to access basic products and services, like to rent a property. And I was discriminated against because I had no credit file. And the way that it works is that credit files are a product of credit reference agencies, companies like Experian or Equifax. And the way that they aggregate data and do their business is by striking commercial agreements with domestic lenders and domestic utility companies. So if as a consumer, you never engage with one of those entities like Barclays, you simply wouldn't appear in the databases of credit reference agencies. And subsequently, you will be financially discriminated against. You'll be invisible to all service providers and products over there. And therefore, you'll be automatically classified as high risk and be deprived of basic access to basic products, like to rent a property and pay for it monthly, or get access to a credit card, or get a loan, an overdraft facility, or a mortgage. And that's what we're trying to break. And that's Homeppl. That's the Homeppl story. Every single person at Homeppl, when they wake up in the morning and open their laptop, what they're trying to do and fight for is end financial discrimination and create financial inclusion. So that's what we're trying to do. Now, the way that we're doing it is, instead of creating a different database that we think will be more rich and more sophisticated and will compete head to head with companies like Experian, we actually go back to basic and we do something very similar to what I was trained to do back then in the army. We actually validate the consumer's credit worthiness directly from the consumer's data. And in particular, we look at three main things, right? Firstly, the identity, that they are who they say they are. Secondly, their financial abilities. So how much money they have in their bank accounts, but also what they do for a living, right? Are they permanently employed? Are they on probation? Are they self-employed? Are they working on a 0-hour contract? And then lastly, and most importantly, and that's shocking, we validate the consumer's willingness to meet their legal and financial obligations based on their true background. So if they want to rent a property, we'll look at their rental payments history. And here's the news. Credit reference agencies don't have that data, because that's payment that you make to an individual, to a landlord. And credit reference agencies cannot contract with the 2.7 million landlords or homeowners that actually exist in the UK. Now, I'm sure you'll ask me about this down the line, but gathering the data, that's the easy bit. Every single company with enough leverage can ask and gather the same data that we gather from the consumer, right? You can open a Google form or a type form and get the same thing if you have enough leverage. The tricky bit is to authenticate the data, cross-referencing it, validate it, and that's what we do extremely well as a business. And overall, we have our own open banking algorithms. The way that we're doing it is using our own open banking algorithms that run on rent, income, and finance. But the real cool stuff that we're doing is our fraud detection tests. And that's basically an amalgamation of data enrichment, behavioral analysis, and documents analysis that we developed in-house. And that's super cool. And just like with as little as an email address or a bank statement that a person uploads, or if they link their or share the transactional data with us through open banking, we pretty much know everything about them. And that allows us to do two things. Firstly, realize the mission statement. So we can assess and consider any applicant, irrespective of their nationality or country of origin, from anywhere around the world, from any background. And as evidence, we have more than 96% approval rate, which is 25% higher than any other company out there that is trying to do tenant referencing or something similar. And the second thing that our technology allows us to do is to enhance the protection of our clients against fraud and against default. And I'm sure you'll ask me about this, we pick up actually we see that up to 5% of our clients' properties are subject to fraud. That's 1 in 20. That's huge. We pick up fraud on a daily basis for all of our accounts without any exception. We see that there is trends that, and again, you'll ask me about this, but the build to rent, the more inclusive the proposition is for the tenants, the more like utilities are included, Wi-Fi, TV, council tax, the more it's subject to fraud. And that's I'm happy to elaborate on this afterwards, but that's the value that we do. That's what we give to our accounts. And that's why, we consider ourselves as probably the only company out there that can really, really qualify tenants properly. Protecting tenants and protecting landlords as well. And that's why we're working with the best of the best. We started with the top accounts in the UK. Gladly, we've got a really interesting portfolio, if I may say so myself. And we're now going to move to the mid-market and long tail. And, we're looking to do that with partnerships. And that's why we absolutely love Ripit, and we're really keen about this partnership, because we think that together we can distribute this product and give more tenants inclusion and also further protection to landlords. Hopefully that answers the question.
Very much so. It's really interesting. I suppose what I would be interested to know is there must be other companies like your own doing something similar in the market, and if you were presented by somebody saying, why you? What is it that's specifically special about your company? Where of all the things you've just told me, what do you think sits at the heart? Is it the fraud thing? Or what's the primary reason why I should come to you rather than to somebody else?
Absolutely. The simple answer is the tech that we have, right? We're a tech business, we're a startup, we're a fintech company. It just so happens that we started in the rental space. Our competitors, in a nutshell, are one of the following two. Either they are dinosaurs, insurance companies that do tenant referencing as a loss leader model, and there are loads like this. And by definition, because their main focus is sell rent guarantee insurance, they need to have defaults. Otherwise, they won't be an insurance company. The FCA will knock on the door and say, "What the hell? You're charging people from premiums, but no one is making a claim." So they never invested properly in doing tenant referencing the right way. So they have like a warehouse somewhere in the Midlands where they employ about 500 people. That the only thing they do is they look at documents and try with only their naked eye to tell whether this document is actually real or forged. And they'll pick up the phone and call an landlord and say, "Hey, are you the homeowner of Alex, and was he a good tenant, yes or no?" Without having any technology or ability to actually cross-reference that information other than their own, natural judgment. And so that would be one segment. So they have absolutely no tech, but they have a big brand and a lot of money, and they're backed by, the insurance companies, so lots of capital over there. And the other one would be companies that are trying to play on open banking only. Which is nice, but open banking is not rocket science. Everyone can actually use open banking. There are lots of companies that even give you the algorithms of analyzing the transactional data over there. But the difficulty over there is that if you're only working on open banking, and these companies are startups without that human intelligence addition, their approval rate is even lower than those of the traditional ones because they rely on open banking and credit reference agencies. And so they have no capacity to work on the exceptions. And there are lots of people that are relocating to the country without any historical transactional data. Every single person they're starting a new job, their income changes, right? And it correlates very well often that people are moving to a new house when they got a new job as well. And so sharing your transactional data via open banking will give you the history, not the future, right? Will give you the past, not the future. And so these are the two different segments that we're up against. So we feel very comfortable with our solution that is very complete and very unique. And there's no one else like us doing what we're doing. So it's tech for sure. And the PropTech is part of it, but it's the tech.
So tell me a little bit more about your relationship with Reapit and foundations and the app market and that piece.
Yeah, so as I said, we're looking for like-minded companies to partner with. Ripit is a tech leader in the space, and it was, working with them was a natural step forward for us in realizing the mission statement of creating inclusion worldwide and obviously in the UK. We're looking at allowing our clients and new prospects as well to easily use our solution within the same natural environment that they absolutely love, that is called Ripit. So have no or less switching cost to us from one referencing partner to another. We live inside Ripit. So easily for every single letting agency out there that uses Ripit to just click on apps and then use the Homeppl to do the tenant referencing with us. It doesn't change anything over there. And by choosing us, obviously they choose the more inclusive way and the most secure way. And that's why we're really happy about Ripit, client leader, market leader, excellent documentations to do an integration with. So we're very keen and we have high hopes for this integration as well.
That's really good to hear. And in terms of the future, you have an impressive piece of kit at the moment. Where do you see this going?
Yeah, so as I said, we wake up in the morning quite early actually, and because we all have kids now, and we open our laptops and we see one thing in front of our eyes, and that's to create inclusion. And that's because we're a very international team. We all personally experience financial discrimination ourselves or know someone who was subject to financial discrimination. So we really care about that. We're really passionate. So we started with the rental space, mainly for two reasons, actually. One is because, about 40% of all citizens across the UK and OECD countries are tenants. So it's a big pain. And the other one is because for every single homeowner, it's absolutely crucial to make sure they hand over the keys to someone who has the willingness and ability to pay rent on time, because terminating a contract, a rental agreement, or evicting a tenant is pretty much mission impossible. Evictions went up, nearly doubled, more than doubled, up from 21 weeks to evict a person to more than 42 weeks. So we started with rentals, but we're already exploring other verticals for us to use our solutions. And, natural addition to us would be anything to do with money, whether it's unsecured loan or secured loan. Overdraft facility, credit cards, etc. And obviously other verticals like human resources, like validating consumers' qualification when they apply for a job as well in the remote economy where everything is online. A lot of our team was hired completely remotely without even meeting them face to face and physically. Surely we can help with our solution and how we validate their identity and proof of address and obviously their employment and financial background. So that's what we're looking to do, and that's going to be the future for us. But we feel very comfortable today with the rental space. We are a global company already today. So we're already live in 9 countries. So we're trading not just in the UK, but also in Ireland, in Spain, in France, in Germany, in Italy, in Belgium, in Austria, in Portugal. And we definitely continue or aim to continue expanding over there in these markets and new markets as well.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Alex. Really interesting. If you'd like to find out more about this product, you can do so on our website at reapit.com/foundations/partners. And if you're an existing Reapit enterprise client and are interested in installing the app for your agency, simply contact your customer success manager. As with every app in the app market, installation just takes seconds. That's all for this episode. I hope you found it useful. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to Reapit's Apps in the Spotlight podcast.